from other regions as well, in Syria, now in Libya. Therefore, Turkey has been trying to actually play its constructive role. Turkey is the largest refugee hosting nation or country. 4 million refugees that we have been hosting. And Turkey has 1,800 around, almost, maritime boundaries with Mediterranean. And we have 911 kilometers border sharing with Syria. That's why, naturally, Turkey has been affected most. And it's not only about the number of the refugees. Even only that one has been a huge burden on our shoulder. We have spent more than $40 billion. What we receive from entire international committee is around 3 billion euro. But we only alone ourselves spend more than $40 billion. But terrorism is another consequences of the situation that Turkey has been affected most. We have to deal with this. It's not only about the countering terrorism. On the ground, we have been doing this successfully. We had 3 operations against Daesh and PKK-YPG. But how about the killing of the ideologies of Daesh and the others? And there are women and children left behind. How are we going to rehabilitate them? And we lost many civilians in Turkey due to the terrorist attacks of Daesh and PKK-YPG. We have to counter that. So we have been shouldering a lot of responsibilities and playing important role. And in Syria and in Libya, we believe that only the solution is the political one, not the military one. And that's why we not only do our own job, but we do support the efforts of UN and international community. That's why now we have been able to at least convene the Constitutional Committee meeting in Geneva. Stefan de Mistra is here. He spent a lot of years, many years together with us. Since we came to power, sincerely, we spent a lot of efforts to reach a lasting settlement. In 2004, we supported the Annan plan. Unfortunately, Greek Cypriots didn't support it, so it failed. I'm not here to criticize them or to explain why they failed to support, but this is the de facto situation. And in 2017 in Crans-Montana, I was there for 11 days, and everybody recognized that only Turkey was constructive, but it didn't work again. So we should continue our talks to reach a lasting solution. And the situation in Cyprus has other aspects, consequences, like drilling activities around Cyprus. And we have many other frozen conflicts around Turkey. Nagorno-Karabakh and occupied territory of Azerbaijan, and Transnistria in Moldova, and 2 regions of Georgia and Crimea of Ukraine have become frozen conflicts, or conflicts that the solutions have been frozen, and they have been also posing risks from time to time. We need to find solutions to those problems as well.
Thanks for the vision, and I think we can start the conversation here.
Monica, thank you very much. Mr. Minister, good morning. I was wondering if I could ask you to follow up about Syria. Turkey is now very heavily engaged on the ground in Syria. I was wondering if you could say a little bit about your vision of the end game there. I mean, what is Turkey's exit strategy?
Right. If we can convince the regime in Damascus, maybe some of its supporters as well, that the best solution or the viable solution is the political solution, I think we can resolve the problem. And the first round of the Constitution, why I say this? First round of the Constitutional Committee meeting went better than expectations. But regime blocked, unfortunately, the second round of the talks with their unacceptable preconditions first. And here we see that they don't believe in the political solution. And when you look at the Idlib, they have been increasing their aggression. And they continued their bombardments indiscriminately. So many civilians, thousands of civilians have been killed. And already tens of thousands of people has been displaced. Do they care about that? No, as they didn't care in Aleppo, in Iskuta, Homs, or Dara, or elsewhere. So only the solution is the political solution. But it is not that simple. Meanwhile, the territorial integrity of the country is so important. And YPG-PKK still has a separatist agenda, unfortunately supported by some coalition members. And now with our operation, after our operation, that plan has been killed, but we should be still vigilant. So countering terrorism, if we can clean the countries, all, including Iraq, from all sort of terrorist organizations with all manifestations, we can help the territorial integrity or support the territorial integrity of the country. And another aspect, I said, in humanitarian aspects of, there are many refugees in our countries, not only in Turkey, but in other neighboring countries, Iraq, Lebanon, and also Jordan. Obviously, they want to go back. How do I know that? We do meet them. And so far, 370,000 Syrian refugees from Turkey went back to Jarablus El-Bab region, where we cleaned from Daesh, and Afrin region voluntarily, because they feel safe there. Already 65% of the IDPs went back to our operation areas. They want to go back. So we need to also work together for voluntary, safe, and dignified returns. And OCHA and UNHCR should be our main partner, as main partner of Turkey, partners of Turkey. And we need to provide at least their basic needs, as we agreed with other countries. Now, together with Iraq, Jordan, and Lebanon, we are planning to co-host a conference on the return of the Syrians. So this is a very complicated situation. The situation on the ground is also very complicated. And what we see also now, the regime cannot provide any assistance, even the basic needs of the people where they control, living where they control. It's also a big problem. So we need to reach a political settlement, not as soon as possible, but immediately. And this is the worst disaster that the world has been facing after the World War II.
Yes, sir. If I can follow up on Syria, because just a few days ago during an interview, President Assad said that this is not going to be settled until you continue to be the main protector of Nusra in Idlib territory, and this is his accusation. And on the second point, you always speak about protecting integrity of territory in Syria, but this is something that you decided, or did Damascus ask you to protect their territory? Because normally when a state wants the protection of his own land, they ask for it. Instead, something different is happening on the ground.
Thank you. Thank you very much for these questions. First of all, we can never support any terrorist organization, neither in Turkey nor other side of the Turkey. In the past, Turkey was, accused for supporting Daesh as well. One day, John Kerry told me that Turkey is buying oil from Daesh. I said, this is unacceptable. You have to provide evidence. And then at the second meeting, I reminded him he couldn't. Third meeting, no. At the fourth meeting that I saw him in New York, I insisted. Then he sent me, CIA sent me documents of some maps. And then I asked my intelligence and the security officials in Turkey to find out what it is. Actually, it was the asphalt plantation of the city Kilis, where more refugees, Syrian refugees, are living than the local people. Then CIA had to apologize officially in writing. So those terrorist organizations are first and foremost my enemy. And we lost more than 300 civilians in Turkey. I don't mean the troops, the soldiers that have been martyred in our fight against Daesh. There is no difference between Daesh and al-Nusra. There is no difference between El-Feto and also PKK, YPG for us. And we have been never in a selective approach in our fight against terrorism. So this claim of the regime is baseless. And who sent these al-Nusra elements to Idlib region? Who did it? Stefan knows better than I do. The regime and its supporters let al-Nusra terrorists with their weapons to go to Idlib from Aleppo first. While we were evacuating the civilians, they just supported the leave of these terrorists. Stefan is approving this. And also from East Ghouta and also Homs. Forget about these neighboring cities. They brought al-Nusra terrorists by buses all the way from Dara to Idlib region. I didn't bring them there. What was the reason behind that? At the end, they were going to actually use the presence of these terrorists an excuse to attack Idlib. And this is exactly what they are doing. I'm against all sort of terrorist organization on the ground, and al-Nusra and Al-Qaeda and Daesh are listed as terrorist organization in Turkey. Secondly, we are committed to territorial integrity of Syria more than anybody else. And our operations have been targeting only terrorists. Nobody was criticizing Turkey like Turkey is occupying, so-called occupying Syria. When I started my operation against Daesh, everybody was very happy that I'm still there. Also in Afrin, it was against YPG, PKK. Nobody reacted that much. Why our coalition member and some countries like France overreacted this time? Because they were aiming to create a terror statelet. And they were aiming to support the separatist agenda of this terrorist organization, nothing to hide. That's why they have been very much disappointed. And what should I do now? If I leave this area, if I withdraw immediately, and I am sure who fulfill the vacuums first? Terrorist organizations, Daesh or YPG, PKK. If I leave it to regime without a political settlement, I am not sure that the regime will not get along with this terrorist organization for its own interests. And more importantly, what is the reason now behind that refugees in our neighboring countries don't want to go? Because they have a fear of the regime. So if regime takes over, no refugees will go back voluntarily and safely to Syria. But this is the main principle that we all agree that it has to be voluntary, safe, and dignified return. So these areas that we have been forcing right now, the territories of Syria, and we are committed that. And when there is a political settlement, of course, we can easily hand over, and when they have established their security forces there, and we can easily hand over these areas to the Syrian people, Syrian state.
Mr. Minister, I wonder if I could take you in a slightly different direction now, although it's related in a way, and talk a little bit about Turkey's security relationship with the West and with NATO in particular, and with the United States in particular. I think we'd agree that these have been pretty troubled times. Never an easy relationship to manage, but particularly difficult in recent years.
I like challenge.
Yeah. I mean, one of the challenges at the heart of this, has been this S400 dispute. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, because that's obviously a commercial and a technical choice for Turkey, but it's a political choice, and it's seen that way. Is it really worth it?
Is it? Do you believe that it is a political choice of Turkey?
It's seen that way in Washington.
Well, and I ask your personal opinion.
I think it is a political choice. All those kinds of purchases at that level are political choices. I think you are
mistaken. Let me explain why. Do Turkey needs air defense systems? Is Turkey desperate right now? Yeah, you agree. Thank you very much. Do we have our own? No. Thank God we have been producing more than 70% of Turkey's need right now in Turkey, and we will continue to that end. But we are still not self-sufficient country in defense industry, not yet. Okay? And you also admit that Turkey needs air defense systems. Did we try to buy from our allies? Yes, for the last 10 years, we wanted to buy Patriots from the United States. We wanted to buy SAMP-T from France and Italy. but we couldn't get them. And NATO, since we don't have any air defense system, NATO asked our allies to deploy their batteries to the borders in Turkey. Who did that? Germany, the Netherlands, and the United States, and Italy and Spain. And in 2013, US, Netherlands, and Germany withdrew their batteries from my border when I needed them most. And this year, Italy decided to withdraw their SAMTI battery. I'm not here to criticize Italy. I have to thank Italy only for the prolongation of the deployment until today. Now we have only one Spanish Patriot battery. Obviously, we need more. And I'm very grateful to our Spanish NATO ally and good friend. So this, okay. I need it. And I wanted to buy from our allies. They didn't want to provide that. I wanted to purchase them from our allies. This is our priority. And even today, I am ready to purchase Patriots. But is United States giving any guarantee that they will get consent or okay from the Congress? No. So what am I going to do? It is purely for technical reason that I had to buy air defense systems from somewhere else because I couldn't get it from my allies. And in the future, I need more of them until I produce in Turkey. And if I cannot get Patriots or SAMTIs from our allies, I will have to continue purchasing from other sources. Say it can be S400, it can be others. So actually, President Trump perfectly understands this. But his administration and Pentagon didn't want to understand this. But what we agreed in Washington, D.C., and also in London 2 days ago during the NATO leaders meeting, that we should continue to talk on this issue. So it is not a political reason. We are NATO ally, and yes, Russia is our neighboring country. We buy gas from Russia, and our trade volume has been increasing. We disagree with Russia on Crimea, territorial integrity of Georgia, and even on Syria. We disagree in some areas. Again, Stefan knows this better than I do. But at the end, Russia is our immediate neighbor. I have to also cooperate with Russia, and our cooperation with Russia in Astana, in Sochi, has been bearing fruits. If Geneva is alive today, it is thanks to our products or outcomes of this Astana and Sochi talk. But I am the NATO ally, and we have been contributing to NATO activities more than most of the other NATO allies. So this is not a political choice, my friend. Are you convinced?
Well, sort of.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I know Monica has something to say. If you'll allow me just one follow. If you know, obviously there are a whole list of things. You mentioned some of them that are kind of on the minds of the West and Turkey at the moment that's made it difficult, lack of trust. But if there's one thing from your side that you could, that's mutual, reciprocal. If there's one thing you would think of that would help, that we could do between us to help this situation, say with the United States, what would it be? What's the one thing?
Say it again.
What's the one top thing, in your view, that we could fix between the United States and Turkey that would help?
Well, United States' concern is our S400 procurement. Maybe it is important sensitive, but we made proposal to meet their concerns. What is the proposal? Let's establish a joint working group of experts of NATO, Turkey, and the United States. And NATO should chair this to make the assessment and to find out whether their concerns are legitimate or not. This is the actually very positive, flexible approach. And what is my concern? What is my problem? First, the United States has been supporting a terrorist organization that has been attacking me. Right? More than 30,000 trucks load weapons that U.S. provided. So which one is more sensitive for any country or any nation? All right? And secondly, the perpetrator of the attempted coup in Turkey, the leader of this terrorist organization, FETÖ, has been living in the United States. No measures have been taken. not only the leader of this terrorist organization, but other key figures fled to there. So which concern is more legitimate? Which problem is actually create more problem to each other? This is very simple. We try to create a safe zone with the United States in Syria upon the proposal of Trump. But what we saw on the ground was only delaying tactic of the United States. While they were working with us on the ground, pretend that they were working, at the 3 kilometers away, actually, they were supporting these YPG, PKK terrorists, not only providing the weapons, but also through training programs.
Mr. Minister, I would like to ask you so many questions, but time is
ahead.
really running away.
Well,
so
you
I had
ask
something
long
about
and difficult questions.
Oh,
I have to respond.
No, you're kidding. So, so let's do like this. We leave aside
Let's
for a
proceed
second.
the easy and simple ones.
Okay. So the easy and simple one: relations with EU and Italy, and also the EU public opinion. Because I'm one of those people that always said that the dialogue with Turkey has to be kept open in some ways. But you should find a way also to, gain public opinion. And maybe the strategy is not the one of threatening Europe every single time with the refugee bomb, because last time that there has been this disagreement on Syria, your president was the one who said, now, if you continue with this disagreement, we will open the borders. So do you think that this kind of tactic can help our relation?
Well, when anybody criticizes my President Erdogan and Turkey, my nation, when anybody, it's perfectly okay. But when there is a response coming from Turkey, nobody likes it. Well, why Erdogan said that? Well, I have been hosting more than 4 million refugees, and 3.6 million of them are from Syria, for last 7 years. I just mentioned that. And why? Because this is a burden. And, a common challenge in Europe. And we are part of this continent. We are not only a member of the European Union, okay? Besides that, we are a member of OSCE and the Council of Europe and this and that. So we haven't received enough support, okay? But still, we have been fully implementing this migration deal that we reached with EU in March 2016. But when Erdogan proposed that we should work together for voluntary and safe return, many European countries said, no, I don't want to support this because you are doing the demographic engineering. If people are able to go back to their homes, is it demographic engineering? YPG has did democratic engineering. If you don't believe me, you can ask the Christian minorities in Syria, Arameans and the others. Go and ask. You can ask the Syrian Kurds living in Turkey. 350,000 Syrian Kurds living in my country still. Why they couldn't go back? Not only those, but the ones in also northern Iraq, 250,000 around. Why they have not been able to go back? Because YPG didn't allow them to go back, because YPG hates other Kurds, the opposition Kurds. So what I'm trying to say, okay, we want to return, and Europe said no. And President had the right to say, okay, if you don't want help us to, help us and the refugees who are returning, then it is enough is enough. It has been ordered, and you take them and you take care of them in your countries. Fair enough. It's not that threatening. Fair enough. Because the European Union and EU countries, particularly Madam Merkel, knows that the cost of one refugee in Syria or in Turkey 10 times less than the cost of the refugees living in Germany and Europe. So it's mutually beneficial for everybody. Why they don't want to support? Because of this operation against YPG, PKK terrorist organization. Is it my mistake? No. US and France and some coalition members made the biggest mistake to engage or to collaborate with another terrorist organization in our fight against Daesh. But only Turkey put its troops in harm's way. And Turkey alone eliminated more than 4,600 Daesh terrorists. Forget about this more than 7,000 foreign terrorist fighters we captured and deported. So when our allies make mistake, it is legitimate, but when we criticize that, Turkey is threatening. I don't want to say double standard or hypocrisy. I used this word many times before, but this is the situation.
Mr. Minister, I'm conscious of our time, of your time. Thank you very much for this very open, very frank conversation. It was very good to have. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the conversation. So